Is it hearsay? In a court of law? Yeah. Could I prove it? If I was given medical records, I could prove it, I believe, within medical records. If I put a gun to your head and I said, Jeff Bagwell, was he on steroids? Or Pudge Rodriguez, was he on steroids? You would say, yeah. People forget what happened to Pudge. Most people don't forget what happened to Pudge Rodriguez after PED testing came in. Then he looked like a completely different person. He lost weight. He was thin. He went out and played the field. On merit, on baseball merit, Pudge Rodriguez is a no-brainer. No-brainer. Here's the problem with Bagwell. Everybody thinks he did it, and his stats are kind of flimsy. He doesn't have 500 home runs. He's not a career 300 hitter. It wasn't like he was a Gold Glove winner in the field, was he? Was he? Once, twice? And then you run into the. So I guess the question is, one Gold Glove, one MVP, 4 All-Stars. My biggest issue is that I've always said, not just if I know, I think I got a pretty good sense of things. Like, I was born at night, not last night. In a time where dudes were full of juice and guys were ridiculously large, Bagwell was ridiculously large, and everybody thought he was on the juice. And you know what? You can say, well, he never tested positive. Well, in terms of PED testing, it's true. Should be noted that every one of these guys took a drug test when they took a physical before the start of every season. And if any of these gentlemen would like to present those forms, I would love it, because the reason they all had to take physicals is every contract you sign with a professional baseball club has to be insured. That's how they found out that Magic had HIV. He didn't just go have a HIV test. He went and had his preseason physical. They ran the blood work, found out he had HIV, likely did another test to make sure it wasn't a false positive, and then they end up telling him, and that's why he retired early in the NBA. So somewhere there is some testing that does exist and likely does not exonerate Pudge or Bagwell. And you can say I'm a bad guy for raining on their parade, but I'm saying on radio what everybody in baseball who wasn't doing steroids was thinking. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there is a perfect system. You know, in the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame, there are plenty of coaches who broke NCAA rules. Do I think that's the same? I do not. But Jerry Tarkanian opened the floodgates. I mean, they've had other guys in that have been on NCAA on NCAA probation before, but like Jerry Tarkanian had no desire to follow the rules. He didn't. I think he's different than any of the other coaches that were caught cheating because he didn't care. He wasn't bringing players in with the idea of educating them, and if he filled their pockets, it was the idea of, hey, they need some money to get by. Like Jerry Tarkanian thought the rules were bunk and didn't really care. And anytime that he got caught, he said, hey, I'm the only one you're chasing. He never really denied what they were and weren't doing. That should open the floodgates to the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame. Same with what happened yesterday. And maybe it happened last year with Piazza, where Piazza was a guy that everybody suspected and baseball guys all knew. There was all the discussions about back knee within Major League Baseball locker rooms. Hey, Piazza's a juice guy. Everybody kind of knows it. We just kind of roll our eyes anytime there's any sort of denial. And so the weird part is, like, look, I don't think Bonds and Clemens belong in because so much of they were already great. Their careers were fading, and then they became great again. And the only realistic explanation is they got help. Plus, there's plenty of other people who have said they got help. And I don't understand why we make this excuse for people. I don't get that. But I think we're creeping towards that place to which many of you think it's cool to be, which is, why don't we just have a wing of guys and say it was the steroid era? What about Fred McGriff? Like, Fred McGriff's numbers are almost identical to Jeff Bagwell, right? About the same home run numbers, about the same batting average, probably a better fielder. And Fred McGriff never linked to, never suspected of. It was not a steroid. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I would bet a substantial sum of money. Fred McGriff's career was wildly overshadowed by all these other steroid guys. To me, that's what the Hall of Fame should be about. But since they've given in to, well, Piazza, New York, home runs after 9/11, best power hitting catcher ever, he never really caught. Fine. Now we're at this, okay, now we're at this, like, I don't know if there's a term for it, like dual hypocrisy. We're not going to let steroid guys in because we want to do it the right way, but we are going to let steroid guys in because we don't have proof, even though we don't technically have a ton of proof on Bonds and Clemens. That's hard.